What's good, y'all? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0, keeping the action going with the Power Rangers in Space Lightning Collection Silver Ranger figure. Alright, so here we are into the full review. I've had a little chance to play around with this guy out of the packaging. And yeah, pretty standard stuff for Lightning Collection. So if you've seen any of my Lightning Collection reviews, you probably know what to expect here, alright? So pretty good figure overall, for sure. Definitely some issues with it as to be expected, but overall a pretty solid figure. And yeah, I think if you guys are in space fans or Power Ranger collectors and figure collectors, then you're probably gonna want to pick this guy up in your collection at one point. One thing I want to mention right off the bat is that they did do another release of this figure where he came with his cycle. I don't know the exact name for his cycle. It's been a little minute since I've seen it in space, but he does ride like a kind of cycle, like a little vehicle in the show a lot. And they did do Hasbro did a separate release of him with that cycle. The reason I didn't pick that one up is because I saw MCU Collector's Review where he did a comparison of that figure with this normal release. And unfortunately, that the one that comes with the cycle has some really bad QC issues when it comes to the legs. The legs suddenly become like very, very loose on that one, and they're like really wobbly and shaky and just unstable overall. So I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know why the QC quality, QC is quality, but yeah, I don't know why the QC went down so much between this release and that cycle release. It really should have just been like a repack, of the same figure. So I'm not sure what happened with the legs between the two figures, but yeah. So I opted to get this one. I didn't really feel like I needed the cycle that much. To complete this guy, my main obviously thing was trying to get the Ranger himself, and I figured I could always probably find the vehicle if I really wanted it. Somewhere on the aftermarket, I could probably find it cheaper by itself. So if at some point I wanted to pick that up, I would go ahead and do that. But for now, we have the standard release of this guy, and yeah, he looks pretty good for the most part. Let's go ahead and get into, well, let's get the likeness out of the way. So you can see I've got his unhelmeted head on. So I'll go ahead and take the helmet out of his hand. Take the Super Silverizer off his arm here, and we'll discuss the method that he kind of holds the Super Silverizer, because it is a little bit tricky, I found. So let me try to get it out of his hands, because once it's in there, it's in there. But it was a little tough to get it in there in the first place. So yeah, let me see if I can pull his hand out of the grip. Okay, there we go. Slide that off. All right. So pulling him in for a closer look here. It's not a horrible likeness. I wouldn't say it's the best, but for a $25 action figure, it's definitely not the worst we've seen. It's got some likeness to the actor. I forget I don't really know his real name, but I'll show you guys a quick photo comparison so that you can see what he looked like in the show in case you've never seen In Space. Zane, our boy Zane, looked like this. Let's see if I can find like a good picture. That one's kind of bad quality. Hold on one sec, y'all. Okay, yeah, here we go. Let's try. This this picture is a little bit blurry. I'm trying to see if I can get it into a little bit better quality for you guys. Let's see. Maybe if I go straight to the site here. Okay, yeah. I'll just kind of zoom in. Yeah, that's a little better as far as the quality. But yeah, this is our boy Zane. I don't know what happened there. Okay, hold on, y'all. What the heck happened? Sorry, let me open this up one more time. Okay. Scroll down. Let me zoom in again. Okay. Oh, okay. I guess I'm getting some ads kind of blocking it. Wow, that's super annoying. Okay. I think I got him now. Okay, so yeah. Hopefully no ads will pop up in front of him, but here we have Zayn as he appeared in the show. So you can see the likeness, or the actor right there. What the hell was that? All right, sorry. Yeah, that is what he looked like in the show. This is what the figure looks like. Pull him in. So they I see what they were going for. I think, he definitely, I remember him in the show having a very what's the word? Not witty, but he always had like a very kind of comical personality to him. He was always like cracking jokes and whatnot. Stupid thing. He was always like cracking jokes and whatnot, and you can see like right there, like he's kind of like laughing. So like I guess on the figure they kind of wanted to give him a bit of like a smirk. If I can get focus on him, it's kind of hard to get the head in focus. I mean, you guys see what he looks like right there, right? So let me move this out the way. Now that you've seen what he looks like in the show, this is what he looks like as far as the figure goes. And it's like I can see what they were going for. I feel like they have the overall shape of the head right, but something about it just doesn't feel quite right. But I mean, again, this being like a $25 action figure, it's like not the worst likeness I've ever seen. I don't like the way that they handle the bleach blonde hair that he has. You saw in that picture he had like pretty light, like bleach blonde hair. On the figure, it seems like with characters that have that color hair, they just kind of make their hair like a white, like a almost like off white, like like almost beige color or whatever for the hair, and they don't do a lot of shading, so it really just looks kind of plain. I don't know. And then I feel like they kind of oversaturated the skin tone, I guess, to kind of like give him some differentiation between his skin and his hair, to the point where like I feel like his face looks a little too, I guess, warm or like tan. I don't know. Like I feel like they kind of overdid it a bit on the skin tone, and when you look at it, like the hair, on top of it, it just looks weird. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me. So I think some shading, a little bit of like different colors, maybe some browns added into his hair would have helped. Definitely bring out some of those details and the sculpt a little bit better. Because as it is, it kind of just looks like he has like a white, piece of like Play-Doh or something just smashed onto his head. So especially from a distance, but as you get closer, you can obviously see more of those details. But yeah, I just don't really like how they handled the hair on this guy all that much. But the rest of him seems to look pretty good. Let me back the camera, zoom out just a bit here. Okay, there we go. But yeah, overall, like his suit looks pretty done, pretty well done, pretty clean paintwork all around. You've got the green squares in there. You've got, all of those look pretty clean. I don't really see any fuzziness. The gold stripe across the chest looks very nice. The gold, going right here by the shoulders looks pretty good. Same thing, over here on the kind of like gloves. I feel like, yeah, this is definitely painted. This was probably like casted in white, or I don't know, it was probably like white, all in white first, and I think they just kind of painted this gold on top, but it does look pretty good. So yeah, all that seems to look pretty good, even from the back, seems like all the color is pretty much where it should be. But yeah. One thing I did notice in the show, though, is that the silver of his costume, at least for the American version, was always like a very, very light silver, to the point where it almost looked white in certain shots. And so they, Hasbro tends to use this kind of like marbly silver color for a lot of, silver characters. you know, in like Marvel Legends and Power Rangers and stuff, they tend to use like the same silver plastic. You can see it. I'll do a quick comparison. I'll bring in the Lunar Wolf Ranger right here. Same type of plastic, you know, approach. I don't know how much of like silver paint is on this. I don't think it's really painted at all. I think it's really just molded in this kind of like pearlescent or like marbly, you know, silver type of like color. That's like the base color. And if you want to see like the similarities between these, let's see, hopefully I can get enough light on each of them as I keep dropping Zane here. But yeah, I mean it's pretty much, as far as I can tell, it's the same method of like plastic used, like the color and everything. I don't think it's like really any real paint work. It's more just kind of molded in this you know, this marbleized silver color, which doesn't look bad. But I did, like, again, I said I noticed that in the show, you know, it was lighter in color to the point where it almost looked white. Like it definitely looked different from the Lunar Wolf Ranger suit. I'll say that. Like the Lunar Wolf suit looked a lot more silver on screen compared to, you know, this American version of, you know, the Silver Ranger. But like, of course, when the Sentai shots come in, remember the Sentai tends to look like a little bit darker in color, and they don't, sometimes they have like a more shimmery type of like effect to their suits, whereas like the American suits are usually a little more matte, you know, in appearance, and they don't shine as much, and they're usually like lighter in color compared to the Sentai. And that, you know, that's the case with this guy. So I'll show you guys a couple shots here. So you can see like right here, I'm pretty sure this is I'm like almost certain this is a Sentai shot that was, you know, of course used in Power Rangers for one of the episodes at some point. But you can see here, like, you know, his suit looks pretty silver right here. Like this definitely looks like a silvery type of suit. Looks like, you know, a solid silver color is what I'm getting at. It's a lot closer to like what we see on the Lunar Wolf, even though I would still argue that the Lunar Wolf suit is a little bit darker in appearance. But yeah, this is a Sentai shot. I'm like almost 100% sure. And then we have, this is kind of like you know, your standard front, back, and side Google shot of the suit from you know, in space. And this is the color that his suit was for the majority of the show. Like you can see how much lighter it is here. It almost looks like white. And that's not just, you know, the white background, you know, throwing it off or anything. Like his suit was actually very, very light in color for the American version, to the point where I almost didn't like it. You know, when he first showed up, I didn't really like how light colored his suit was. Like I was like, damn, like it barely looks silver, you know. And they call him the Silver Ranger. I was like, his suit almost looks more like a milky, like white color with like shading in it, if anything. So yeah, that kind of like bothered me a little bit as I was watching in space. But you know, it's still a very nice suit. Obviously, like overall, it still looks good. And again, you know, when they introduced like the Sentai shots, I tended to like, you know, how those looked a lot more, just because again it had more of a silver type of look to it. But yeah, so that's just something I wanted to point out. As far as like the figure is concerned, I feel like they definitely took more of the silvery looking look, like approach to it. So they definitely wanted it to look more silver. And so again, that's why you have this kind of like metallic, marbleized type of color for the suit. Definitely not like as light as what we saw in the show, but you know, I like that. You know, for the figure, I think it definitely looks good. However, just to give it like some distinction from my Lunar Wolf Ranger, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a bit of shading to my Lunar Wolf, just to like make his suit a little bit darker, so that, you know, he can have some distinction on the shelf from this guy, so that, you know, this guy will look a little bit lighter. Because I would definitely say their suits don't look like exactly the same as far as like the coloring goes. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So, but again, overall, pretty clean paintwork, as we can see. No real fuzziness throughout the figure. Pretty clean everywhere that I saw. So yeah, aesthetics on this guy are pretty good. And of course, I'll have a clean figurine rating in the description after the review. But yeah, this one I think came out pretty good. Now looking at his Ranger helmet, if we pull in the Ranger helmet, he does have a few scuffs, which, you know, Hasbro tends to do from time to time. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but he does have like a little bit of almost like a dent or something going, like right here on the side of the visor in the black, and there's like a few like little splotches, like tiny paint splotches, kind of like in this area for the visor. Same thing up top on this kind of like word part over the head. There's a little bit of like paint splotch right there, a little bit of sloppiness. I might be able to fix that with like a little bit of acrylic paint. Thing is that I have matte black paint, so if I put that on, it might kind of throw off the look right there. I might have to add like a glossy coat or something on top of it so that it'll match, you know, the rest of the helmet, but that shouldn't be a big deal. And overall, you know, aside from that, like the rest of the paint on the helmet is pretty clean. You can obviously see like a little bit of like that weird kind of like marking or like dent looking stuff going on right there in the gold, but you know, overall, pretty nice. Like coming around to the back, all the paint seems pretty clean. The gold stripe all the way around there. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this helmet came out. Definitely looks show accurate as far as I can tell, and the size I think is pretty good too. You know, it has a good proportion to him, like to the rest of his body when it's put on the figure. So that's pretty good. His accessories, so out of the packaging, he came with you know, this hand already on, and then this hand, this kind of like or karate chopping hand or whatever, was actually not on him. This one was, let me grab it. He had this gripping hand on this side. Now, I'm not a big fan of these gripping hands because these come with like a lot of the male Ranger figures, and I'm not a big fan of the ones that are sculpted particularly like this, because the plastic that they use for the fingers is just so incredibly hard and stiff that it's like it's hard to kind of pull it out of the way when you're trying to like put the weapons in their hand, and it's like almost painful. Like I'm serious, guys. Like the plastic like literally digs into your fingers as you're trying to like move you know, his fingers out of the way, and it's just made out of this like very hard plastic that doesn't you know, stretch or bend very much. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I wish they would use like a little bit softer of a plastic for the hands so that getting the weapons in would be a little bit easier. But you know, that's just something to note. But yeah, the overall sculpt obviously very nice. You know, you got the white color for the gloves, you got the stripes, you know, standard stuff that we've seen before. So yeah, we've seen this gripping hand a bunch of times at this point. And then he also comes with a fist hand for the other side. So yeah, he's got a fist hand as well that you can plug in. Again, very nice details and pretty easy to swap. Again, you have these long pegs that you just, you know, you just grab the hand, pull it out of the figure, pop the new one in, and there you go. So not too hard to do. As far as like his accessories go, he has his Super Silverizer, which comes with a effects piece, which I already put on there. I'll go ahead and take it off. I actually do kind of like this effects piece. I think this is one of the cooler ones. But his Super Silverizer, pretty nicely done. It is missing a bit of paint. I was looking online. There definitely should be like a gold kind of border around here. Like you can kind of see where, if I get some focus, like on the outside where this kind of, like you see like where that line is and like going like up like right there. Basically like this little L shape on the outside, that should be gold. And I believe there should be some gold down here by the handle. Up top in the silver part, like somewhere kind of like around like where that little like notch is, if you can see that in the middle, that should be gold. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There might be like another small area on him that should have been gold as well, but as far as I can tell, they got most of the coloring right on this, so that's good. You know, the black is where the black should be, the silver, and you have that nice translucent blue color for the blade of the Super Silverizer. So yeah, overall that all looks really good. And it's at least it's, you know, very nice. It's a nice mold. So, you know, there's a lot of detail sculpted in there. So if you wanted to fill in those, you know, colors where they're missing, it shouldn't be too hard because, you know, you can see the details where they should be at. So that is the normal version of the Super Silverizer. And then, of course, you have the powered down version right here with the blade, you know, still locked away. And again, you know, obviously some gold missing in those same spots, so there should be like some gold around here. Again, gold like around like the middle part of this handle, or like where that little kind of like notch is right there. And yeah, but again, overall still very, very nicely done. And this is it's done in a pretty hard plastic, but yeah, this one is like actually, yeah, it's a very hard plastic. It doesn't have like a lot of bend or flex to it, so but yeah, it does fit over his arms pretty nicely. So I'll go ahead and put the bladed version over his arms. Now the thing with this is you can slide it over like this, right? And that part's easy, getting it by like, you know, his forearm or whatever. But once you try to like put the grip, like get this handle part into like his hand, that's like the most difficult part, because his hands or fingers almost like refuse to flex. So you have to like really kind of wiggle it in there, and it does take some doing, but you can eventually, you know, get it in between his fingers so that he's gripping it. And he does look pretty cool once it's, you know, once he's posed up with it. But just getting it into his hand is kind of a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, Hasbro I think definitely needs to make a softer, either use a softer plastic for the hands, or make the grip wider so that it's, you know, easier to get in. Cause yeah, this is a little problematic, but other than that, you know, pretty good stuff there. I'm not gonna waste too much time trying to get it in his hand. It did take me a little bit off camera, but you guys get the idea. And then as far as like his effects piece, he does again come with this nice lightning piece right here, which looks pretty nice. Nice yellow color. It's in like a swirly, so I found the easiest way to kind of get it around the Silverizer is to just kind of, you know, basically slide the blade like through the bottom swirl like that, and then just kind of like rotate it as you know, push the blade up. So just keep spinning it around until you get the blade to, you know, pass where the effect isn't, and then you just keep doing that, keep swirling it around until the blade's able to pass all the way up. You might have to like adjust it a little bit, but yeah, you just want to basically keep twisting it until it reaches the top, and then you have that nice effect of the energy kind of like traveling up the sword or the blade there, which is really cool. So yeah, once you get this in his hands and get him displayed with it, he's gonna look really nice on the shelf or wherever you have him, looking very dynamic with a nice badass energy effect around the Silverizer. So there you go. One thing about the Silver Ranger, man, I remember when I was watching In Space, there were like several episodes where, I don't want to like spoil it. This is like potential, I guess, like a potential spoiler. So, you know, maybe click off the video now if you've never seen the Silver Ranger in Space. But I remember the Silver Ranger, like the first, I don't know how many episodes when he like first showed up, he would like literally, he was OP, man. Like he would literally show up and just like wipe out the monster on his own. And the other Rangers were kind of like just watching, you know, like they just kind of like let him do it. And I was like, damn, like, you know, I like for the Sixth Ranger to obviously be like very powerful, right, and like OP, but it was it was to the point where like it kind of started like feeling goofy to me how he would just show up, use his super Silverizer, and just like vanquish the monster after like all the other Rangers were struggling with him. I was like, damn. I was like, there's almost like no team effort once he shows up. But yeah, I just found that kind of funny. And I, you know, you have that every now and then with your Six Rangers. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, now getting into play and display, take a look at articulation here. So starting with the head, we have, it is on a ball and hinge joint. So he can only look up so far before it pops off and push that back on. The back of the hair is going to kind of get in the way, so he's not going to be able to look back all that much. Matter of fact, kind of very little before it runs into the sculpt, so that isn't great, unfortunately. Let me zoom out here a bit. Okay, sorry about that, guys. And then looking down, he can look down pretty decently, tuck his chin in, that's good. Coming up, obviously side to side, full 360, like so. He does get a nice windmill in the arms. We're on a ball and hinge for the shoulders, so you can do that. You can raise the arms up better than 90, so you can pretty much get a T pose if you wanted to on both sides. So better than 180 degrees, which is nice. Down by his sides as far as he can. Again, a lot of these Lightning Collection figures kind of suffer from not being able to get the arms down naturally to their sides, which I don't like, especially for the male figures, but you know, it is what it is. And then we have a bicep swivel, pretty nice. Nice tight bicep swivel. We've got double jointed elbows that allow him to bend much further than 90 degrees, come back down and out. We've got a swivel for the hands and a hinge. This is a vertical hinge for both sides, both hands, so he hinges in and out from the body. And yeah, and then he does have butterfly joints that allow some pretty good cross arm movement, especially when, you know, once you bend the elbows and then bending backwards. Again, very, very nice range going back. He gets some really, really nice range with those butterfly joints. And then you have the cut for the upper diaphragm joint. Nice swivel, you know, get a lot of wiggle room at the top there. Using just that top joint, he can bend forward only about that far, goes back only about that far. But then you have, of course, your reverse ab crunch joint down here. So if you use both of those joints, he can bend forward about that far, bend back. And the ab crunch is a little bit clicky, but yeah, he can get that far backwards if you're using that joint. It is a little bit clicky though, so be aware of that. And then for the legs, pretty much perfect 90-degree kick going forward, virtually none going back, the sculpt. And then, you know, you have your thigh swivel there, thigh swivel cut on both sides. You've got double jointed knees, which allow him to come basically kick his own ass, which is cool. Coming back down, we actually do have a swivel in the boots, so you can swivel there. You got a hinge in the foot, go all the way down to the tippy toes, comes up that much, and you have your standard ankle pivot or rocker. Out to the side, he gets about that much, about like maybe a 45-degree angle. So yeah, that's about it. So that's pretty much it. That your standard fare for, you know, Lightning Collection articulation, play and display. But yeah, man, not a bad figure, and I am definitely glad to have it added to the In Space team. So let's go ahead and get into some size comparisons. Let's see how he looks with the rest of his team members. All right, and I'll go ahead. I'll switch out the heads for the size comparison so you can see what he looks like with his helmet on, since he's going to be next to other helmeted Rangers anyways. Alright, so here is Zane all suited up. Suited and booted. Alright, so there we go. Let's bring in Space Pink. We got Cassie, and we got In Space Blue. We got TJ right here. Alright, so let's back this up just a bit. And yeah, he looks fantastic with, you know, the both of them right next to his team members. Seems like TJ is actually a little bit taller, which I think is accurate because TJ was kind of a taller guy. So I think, yeah, that actually works out very nice scale-wise. Cassie is obviously the shortest. Move these two. We'll bring in the custom Wild Force Red Lightning Collection right here by Power Ranger Fan. Power Rangers Fan _12 on Instagram, and we have the In Space Black Carlos right here. And yeah, they scaled again pretty well. Carlos is a little bit bigger than Zane here, and yeah, he's pretty much neck and neck with Zane. So there you go. All right, for Mafex comparisons, we got the Mark 50 Iron Man from Infinity War and the Mafex Daredevil right here. You can see Daredevil is definitely taller. Iron Man is around the same height as Zane, so that looks pretty alright to me. For some Black Series comparisons, we've got the Deluxe Cobb Vanth right here. And let's see, for an SH Figuarts, we'll bring in the Mighty Morphin Green or Dragon Ranger right here. And yeah, he's actually not too much shorter than Zane for an SH Figuarts, so yeah, you could definitely fudge those two if you wanted. And then you've got Cobb Vanth, who's around the same height or maybe just slightly shorter. Turn him a little more towards the camera here. So yeah, I think that works out. Moving those, some Marvel Legends comparisons. We've got Black Cat, the retro card Black Cat right here. And we'll bring in the Toy Biz Mr. Fantastic. The Bendy attachments, Mr. Fantastic right there. I think that works out pretty good. Him and Reed is actually a little bit taller, and Black Cat is a little bit shorter, so I think that works. Some more comparisons. We'll bring in the McFarlane Toys DC Rebirth Deathstroke right here. And we'll bring in a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Origins Snake Eyes right there. So yeah, I think that works. These guys scale pretty well. Obviously, he's going to be much bigger than both, about a full inch taller. And let's see, let's finish it off with the Lightning Collection, Lost Galaxy Green, and Cyclops from Toy Biz. This is the Sentinel Build-A-Figure wave Cyclops. Alright, so there's a comparison. So that's my review, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Much more coming to the channel, and I'll see you guys very soon.